Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Multiplane Podcast. I'm Val,
I'm Ty,
and
and
this
this is
episode is.
Halloween,
And what episode is this, Ty?
the Nightmare
The
Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. It is our countdown to Halloween Disney style, and you're kind of decked out. Are you going to show us everything you got going on there, or what?
I had to ditch the hood. I'm already dying, but you know what? For you guys, I'll do it.
Are you wearing? Is it like a full onesie? What are you wearing?
It's a full onesie pajama, yeah. With
That's awesome. That is awesome. So today we are going to talk all about Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. We're going to talk a lot about some facts that maybe you don't know about the movie, our favorite parts of the movie, our favorite songs of the movie. Some of you voted on our Facebook page. We're going to talk about those. But the first thing I want to jump into is, this is your favorite ride at Disneyland, right? We've talked about this before, Ty. You love the Haunted Mansion, but you love, love, love when the Haunted Mansion is all decked out in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, for sure. And see, I got a really big kick off of introducing my wife and then my daughter to this ride because this is the only way that she knows the mansion. Like, she's never seen the regular mansion. It's only been Haunted Holiday Takeover. Autumn, this is her favorite ride as well. And it's funny. So my wife actually didn't grow up. She had never watched The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so marrying me, like, I kind of introduced her to it. And now she's a diehard for sure. Right. This was one of the things, like, Nightmare's always been a big deal for me because there's those movies that you have as a kid that are always on repeat, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my top three, next to Lion King and Gargoyles, The Nightmare Before Christmas was one of my replay. I'm pretty sure I wore my first VHS out. And I'm dating myself back to VHS. I wore the tape out.
Well, I was going to say that because, like, this movie came out in 1993, and I always forget that it did because it came out when I was still a kid. You were pooping your pants. That's how young you were. And I thought it was great when it came out, but I really didn't get into it until my daughter, Sammy, until I had her and I introduced her to the movie, and it seemed like it was a brand new movie that just came out when she was a kid, right? Like, it's that timeless. Like, it really is one of those movies that it doesn't feel like it doesn't fit right now. It is a timeless movie. It ages well. And my daughter can recite two movies from beginning to end. Other movies, like bits and pieces and spots. One is The Nightmare Before Christmas. She can just recite the whole thing, sing all the songs, and the other one is Mean Girls. So I don't know. She's very well versed in movies. But this movie, she liked Disney and all those things. But when she was introduced to this movie, it really brought out the creative part of her life. She started drawing. She really started getting into different stories and books. It just sparked something in her to go look into things she didn't look into before, because the artistry of this film is so amazing. Like, even if you don't, I know people that don't like this movie, but even if you don't like the story, like, the stuff that these filmmakers brought to the screen with the stop motion was incredible. You have to admit, it's incredible, whether you like the story or not.
Yeah, you have to give credit to the artwork on this. And I think this movie, it's totally hyped now. Nowadays, we have, like I said, at Disneyland, and I think they started doing Holiday Takeover back in 2016. That's how young it is. It's not even that old. I think it was 2016 or 2014?
I think it was 14 because
14.
I think I'll look it up. I have a lot of screens open right now, but or if somebody knows, they can let us know. But it's fairly new. It's not like it, happened in the early 2000s. Again, this movie is an older movie. And so the fact that they only brought it to the park, is 1993, and they brought it to the park in, 2015 or 16.
I think it was 14 when Holiday Takeover went up, and then they added Sally to the set in 16.
Okay. That makes sense.
If I'm getting my numbers right. But yeah, like I said, and that's so this layover is not old by any means. And
Hmm.
then what's even newer, Oogie Boogie Bash, which just started last year, has his own entire persona on an entire park.
Right.
So this movie, seriously, and I remember growing up, there wasn't hype about this movie. And I didn't start seeing like legit loads of merchandise start coming out until I was at least 16 or 17 before I started seeing lots of Nightmare Before Christmas, like in mass amounts of different merchandise.
Yeah, it was really when Sammy was like 3 or 4 years old, that it started coming out. So that's why I feel like it felt like it was her movie, like her kid age when it was really like our, kid age, because I was still fairly young in 1993, believe it or not. But um, so I know you're just a baby, but
I was two.
But here is the first thing that I want to point out that not a lot of people understand. Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas, we're going to get into why it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. But I want to give credit where credit is due. He did not direct this movie, but back in 1982, The Nightmare Before Christmas originated in a poem written by Burton while he was working as an animator at Walt Disney Studios. What do you got there?
This is his original
Yeah, tell
piece.
everybody. That's cool, right?
So it started off as a poem, and then he kind of furthered it into a short story, like a lot of his work that he does. He takes an idea, then he builds on it, and then some of them come, full swing to an animation film. But this is my last year's Halloween trip. We always get our souvenirs, and I always pick one thing that I'm like, hey, this is the one thing that I have to have. And they had copies of Tim's Nightmare Before Christmas book at the
Mm-hmm.
Haunted Mansion shop that you see
Mm-hmm.
right outside of Pirates and Haunted Mansion. And this one is I think a special edition that they came out with where he added more illustrations to it.
Yeah.
So this is why we call it Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, is because the entire story of Nightmare Before Christmas came from Tim Burton himself. But
Yeah,
Henry
Tim,
Selick needs some credit
yeah.
too.
Yeah, Henry Selick worked with him when they were back working at Walt Disney Studios together. And this was back in what they call the dark ages of Disney. They were making movies that, like, most of us like now, but at the time, they were not making any money. The studio wasn't making money. It just was a big cluster of nonsense. And there was a lot of turmoil behind the scenes as well at Disney, and they never knew if they were going to have jobs or where money was coming from. And so he actually pitched this idea, but it never went to fruition. He originally wanted this to actually be a television special. It wasn't supposed to be a movie. So when this movie was actually being made, he was working on Batman. And so he passed it over to Henry, but because it was created by Tim Burton back when they were all working together at Disney Animation Studios, that's why he gets the bigger name and the credit for the film, because he did indeed create the characters. But Henry actually created a lot of really cool things in the movie, like Jack's suit, like what you're wearing right now. That was all Henry's idea. So it's not just like here, Tim Burton handed him everything and then Henry just, kind of pasted it together. Henry had a lot to do with the film.
And that's you can see that in a lot of Tim's original work. I'm trying to
Mhm.
find like a Jack picture, but yeah, see a lot of his original stuff. It wasn't as heavy pinstripe. The bat had not a lot of detail. A lot of different features of Jack's facial expressions. I know he had a lot to do with all the
Mhm.
ones they created on that. But yeah, I think Henry Selick, I got to give the guy some credit because he's also worked with Tim on a lot of other films that have, like one of our other episodes, if you guys want to check it out, are James and the Giant
James
Peach,
and the
which
Giant Peach. Hmm.
was trying to carry the same steam that released 2 or 3 years after Nightmare with the same
And
feel.
then Coraline, that movie freaks me out. My daughter loves Coraline. That movie, I can't watch it. Like, she would watch it and I would go do something else when she was little.
Come on, Val.
It,
My
it just,
4-year-old.
it really just rubs me the wrong. It's creepy. It is creepy in the creepiest of ways, but you know his style. Like it's
Yeah.
very talented work, but it creeped me out. But I think that's what it was supposed to do. But my daughter actually related to it and loved it and watched it a lot. So between, Coraline, Corpse Bride, and Nightmare Before Christmas, my daughter was like in heaven watching all three of those movies, and they all have very similar feels to them. And stop motion, stop animation, like it doesn't happen very often. So in order to make those movies, it takes a really long time and a lot of talent. And they were actually shooting the film, like make it before the script was even finished. Danny Elfman was writing music, and they're trying to go along and create things as he's writing the music, and then they're trying to finish the script. It was a very different process than a regular live action movie or animated movie.
Well, then it's like, oh, hey, Danny Elfman, you're writing the music and the scores and everything. How about you just voice Jack Skellington too for his singing parts? Let's just add something else.
Well, because he was singing them and saying, okay, here's the song, and they're like, this is perfect.
Let's just keep it.
I mean, Danny Elfman's voice, come on. I mean, it's amazing. I think obviously the movie would have been fine because we wouldn't have realized if it was someone else's voice. But when I think of Danny Elfman, I think of Jack. That's who I think
that's
of.
The thing too. I don't know. A lot of people know that Jack was voiced by two different people throughout the entire movie. Mm-hmm. You had Danny Elfman, who was doing his singing and the composed parts. Then you had Chris Sanderson. Am I pronouncing that right? Sarandon. Yeah, Sarandon. Anyways, Chris Sarandon, I think I'm butchering it, but anyways, did the normal voice lines. But yeah,
Sarandon. Chris Sarandon. Yeah, Chris Sarandon is actually Susan Sarandon's brother, and you probably know him the best because you probably don't know his name, but you've seen him in a lot of things that you don't realize, like The Princess Bride. He is the six-fingered man.
More than that, he's on Fright Night. He's the big
I never watched Fright Night. I never watched Fright Night. I know you're disappointed in me.
That's where. So yeah, he is from Princess Bride, but that's my thing. Is he's the baddie? He's the big bad guy from Fright Night. So
yeah. He's great. I mean, just the cast of the actors alone for this film is fantastic. And a lot of them, it's the same thing as like, you wouldn't know them until you understand who they are, because it is a lot of people that do a lot of voice work, a lot of like, they're the second or third important person of a movie. But the way that they make these characters stand out is great. And the characters are amazing. I did want to do just a little more, trivia before we get really deep into it, but two of the movies, can you name two movies that Tim Burton worked on when he was at Walt Disney Productions? Two of the animated movies.
Two of the other animated movies?
Mm-hmm. During the Dark Ages. The dark times at Disney Animated Studios.
I'm going to take some guesses because I don't know them right off.
Okay.
I'm going to guess The Black Cauldron.
Okay.
And then what's something else that's dark? This animation, right?
It's not necessarily dark. It just was during the dark time when these movies weren't making money, but we love them now. We've talked about the other one a lot and how much we like it, or at least how much I like it. Come on, I know you know it. All right, so here we go. No, I'm gonna throw it up there. If anybody else, I know it. We've got some people commenting there. If you know it, throw it up. But here you go. The Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron are the two that Tim Burton worked on when he was over at Walt Disney Productions. So let's see, we've got some comments over here. Tracy, I was 18, headed to film school when this movie came out. And then I rep my Jack with pride. That's what Brian said. Now, this is another funny trivia thing. Do you know the one thing that Walt Disney Studios was actually fighting for Jack to have that they didn't win? Usually Disney always wins when they see they're in, it's not the final cut, but it's like the screener cut that they show the studios. And Disney fought for Jack to have something,
Was it
but
a pumpkin head?
no, it was
No.
eyeballs. They didn't want his eye
Oh,
sockets to be blank because they thought that that was too creepy from Burton's original depiction of the character and that it would scare children. So they wanted him to have eyeballs in the eye sockets, which I think would actually be even more creepy.
I think it would have looked weird
Yeah. Well, luckily they didn't win.
in a bad
Um,
way. In a bad
yeah.
way. I don't think it would have fit.
No, it wouldn't have fit at all. So luckily they didn't win that battle. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting as well. A few other things. What do you know? What other movie that Jack Skellington shows up in later in 1996?
James and the Giant Peach. He's the captain aboard the ship.
The Haunted Pirate Shipwreck, which is pretty cool.
There's a few. I just was looking at something. There's a few different Disney movies that he pops up in.
It's harder to spot in Coraline. He is in Coraline during a transition scene, and I went and watched that yesterday. And it's a little bit harder, like to fit you. It's a really big, like it's an Easter egg. Like you really got to know what you're looking for.
Well, and then one that we've been talking quite a bit about that's getting its own Disney ride, Princess and the Frog.
Mm-hmm. Where is he in Princess and the Frog?
As soon as you see the Shadow Man ask for some help from his friends on the other side, and you see all the shadow monsters kind of creep up on the walls, if you look to the very left, you'll see a tall, slender shadow, round head, skinny neck with the skeleton eyes.
What?
I'm actually trying to see if I can pull it up.
All right, I'm going to have to go watch that movie tomorrow, and I'm going to have to tell Sammy, and she's going to want to watch it with me, and we're going to have to look like specifically at that scene because I thought I knew.
He also pops up in Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. You really have to look for this one. And the only reason I know is because that's another one that I am like diehard. Of course,
the original? Was it the first movie?
So the one that he redid back in like 2016?
Yeah.
Sorry, 2000, not 16,
Disney.
2007. Yeah. Sorry. He's on the Hatter's Bow Tie.
Oh, I think I knew that at the time. But yeah, so I mean, everywhere. It was 2010, Alice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's the one I was talking about. Yeah. The one that he does, the original. So, not the sequel. So that's the one I really, really like. I like that one.
One that's kind of, it's not Disney and you'd have to be a Burton fan for it. If you ever seen Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, you have Pumpkin Jack out in the cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Coraline.
Yeah.
Like you said, the brief, I think I just found it where you see a reflection of his in the egg yolks as the other mother is cooking breakfast. Pops up in, let's see, any other Disney ones.
I'm going to go over to the Facebook page and see because, one of the biggest reasons why I think this movie did so well is because of the music of the film and Danny Elfman. What is your favorite song, Ty, from the movie?
It's probably This Is Halloween.
That's also Whitney's favorite song. She posted that plus the video. What is it about that song that makes it your favorite?
I get it. I start listening to it. I try to change my voice as I'm singing it. Like it just gets me in the Halloween spirit. Like, which is essentially it's what it is. You open the movie and it's everybody listing, okay, it's Halloween. Here's what we're going to do. And it really just kind of puts you in the spirit. I know my daughters probably kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus.
Because it's so great. I mean, that song alone and there's a few other parts in the movie. Like, essentially, this movie is about a villain, and we're rooting for the bad guy. Like, the entire movie, it's built up for us to be rooting for the bad guy. He seems like a good guy to everyone around him, but then he destroys Christmas. He takes something over and totally destroys it. They kidnap Santa Claus. Like, he is a villain. He's a bad guy, but we want him to succeed because it's just, how it's structured, and it's so fantastic.
Did you ever see or play the game The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge?
No.
Oh my gosh. Talk about... This game would be one of the few reasons why I would buy a PlayStation 2 again. Like, I wish they would digitally reanimate this game and bring it up on a higher console, because that game was insane. And it was so good. Comparably to the levels, Kingdom Hearts is another notable one. The levels that you get to play in Halloween Town with Jack on Kingdom Hearts is probably my favorite levels of the whole game.
Yeah.
There's just so much they can do with this stuff.
My boyfriend's over here playing the new Avengers game, and he's being Hulk, and he's like throwing people around like this. So he's more of the gamer, not me.
And it was fun because Jack had you had a few different things. You either could play as normal Jack in this game, where you had what's called his little weapon. It's like a little ball of, it looked like flubber almost, but it was called I think the Soul Reaper.
Okay.
Soul Weaver. You whip it around, you stretch it, and just like grab and hit stuff. Or you could be Pumpkin Jack and shoot flames, or Santa Jack and drop gifts that would like blow up. Super fun gameplay. I really wish Disney would come back and like revamp it or something.
I think my favorite song is the Dr. Frankenstein, Finkelstein song. Sorry.
Dr. Finkelstein.
Yeah, he, like, that character and what's going on there is creepy and amazing, but it really reminds me of oh my gosh, what is the original cartoon that was kind of Nightmare? It was A Nightmare Before Christmas was kind of spun off of that. Oh my gosh, why is my brain not working right now? Because I was like there yesterday. But it really reminds me of that kind of really deep, dark character. And I absolutely... Vincent. Do you remember the cartoon Vincent? It reminds me of Vincent.
That's what Frankenweenie's based off of.
Yeah, Frankenweenie, sorry. And so we're going to talk about that, I think, next week, right?
Yeah.
And I loved Vincent and that so much. And when I see the Doctor, I just think of that for some reason. I love it.
And it's funny. Finkelstein's my wife's favorite character.
I love
That's the next prop that she is demanding that I build. Like, she's like, I don't care whatever you build, but next year I need a Finkelstein in the front yard. And now I get to figure out how to build that and throw it into my display.
Okay, I have another fun fact that I'm going to see if you know. What Star Trek actor was supposed to be in the movie but was cut from the movie?
Patrick Stewart.
Yes. He was actually brought in to read poetry that was intended for the opening and closing narration, but they cut him out of the film.
But they did have him record it, and it's on Danny Elfman's album.
Yes.
It's the opening and finishing, and if you haven't listened to it, you guys, if you have...
His voice is amazing.
Yeah. That's where I'm like... Not that I dislike...
film soundtrack, so...
Yeah, not that I dislike the guy who gave us our intro, but listening to Patrick Stewart do it was like...
Yeah.
Okay, we're on another like level here to where it kind of gave you goosebumps.
Yeah. Okay, do you know where all the hidden Mickeys are in the movie?
Oh, no, you got me there. I'm terrible.
This is a fun game that you can play when you go rewatch the film, is that there are hidden Mickeys, and they're not usually when you see hidden Mickeys in movies or around the park, it's very happy hidden Mickeys. Most of the hidden Mickeys in this movie are really menacing. I'll give you one and then I want you to like go back and find the rest. But when the kids are opening their toys and you have the killer duck and then you've got the little
The
girl opening
vampire titty bear.
the vampire. Yep, that is a Mickey right there. So, but there's a couple.
Okay, I've always thought that. I've always kind of looked at it and been
Yeah.
like, this has some real Mickey Mouse vibes coming off of it. Okay.
And there is also a hidden Danny Elfman cameo. So that's kind of fun as well. I'm gonna put together like a little I guess what to do with the next time you watch the film so you can look for all of these fun things. But yeah, when Tim Burton did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and then they did Beetlejuice together, and then they did Batman and Edward Scissorhands. Like they've done a lot together, so he had to put him in there. But he didn't want it to just be his voice. So the red-headed corpse that's tucked away up in the right, the upright bass ghost guy, that's supposed to be Elfman. So
See, and it's like Danny Elfman is Tim Burton's John Williams to
exactly.
yes. That's the thing. You look at these films and it's like, hey, Star Wars is Star Wars because of the symphony and the sound from John Williams. It's like same thing. It's you look at Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, just all these Burton films, and Elfman is his composer. It's like you almost have to have one with the other, or else it's not a whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, something that was really weird. I don't know if do you know this, that it was the first year or two when they started doing holiday takeover at the mansion, they didn't use Elfman scores.
What? Why wouldn't they do that? Maybe they didn't. Did they not have the rights to use it at the park? So not a lot of people understand that just because it says Disney on it doesn't mean all of those entities have the rights to use. So I worked for Radio Disney, but it didn't give us the rights to talk about Disneyland or give away Disney trips. We had to work with that whole separate entity and Disney Studios and Disney TV. It's all different entities. So maybe they didn't have the rights yet.
No, I was listening to something and I think that they didn't do it. Because if I'm, like I said, I thought I read or was listening to something to where they were talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, they just didn't use my stuff the first 2 years, and then they all of a sudden said, hey, you know what, let's put
do you know what would make this better?
put Danny Elfman's original scores. What do you think about that? It's like, go figure.
Okay, so who's your favorite character from the film?
Well, Jack's a given, but aside from Jack,
Yeah. Because they're, you know how I judge Disney movies is by their sidekicks.
yep.
And this film is like I would watch movies with just the sidekicks of this film in it.
You know, I really like Oogie Boogie, and that's just another kind of granted one because he's the other villain, but it's like he almost doesn't feel like he fits in Halloween Town, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I want more of what's going on with Oogie Boogie. Like he's got a cult of his own with 3 little demented trick-or-treaters who try to please him. Like
he's also my favorite part of the ride. I love it when we get to Oogie Boogie's section and how they do that. It's so great. My daughter was Oogie Boogie for Halloween last year, and I made her an Oogie Boogie hat that was his face. And yeah, I mean, that character just resonates with a lot, but you're right. He kind of reminds me, he's kind of like the crab, in Moana that sings the Shiny song. Like you love both of these characters, but they kind of almost don't belong, but you're okay with it. You know, that they don't really fit within what you're doing, but you're okay with it. I super love the mayor. I know not a lot of people do, but I thought they were so creative with that character and the changing faces. I just thought that was really neat.
it fits his character.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily just have somebody, have two different personalities, but the fact that, I had that toy when I was little. Like you could change, the face on the toy to happy and sad, and I just thought that was so neat.
The fun fact right now, so in my Funko, I collect Funko Pops, like most dorky people. And the bulk of my collection is Nightmare Before Christmas stuff.
Hmm.
I'm still taking in and now the thing is they're starting to include all the citizens of Halloween Town. So I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I gotta get money. I have to grab this one when it's available, that one. The mayor came out back in the day, and to this day, he's still one of the most valuable pops in the collection. I think on
Oh,
eBay
wow.
right now, he's going upwards around $500 to $700 a piece
Wow.
because he's so like sought after. And it's just if they do a you know relaunch of him, I'm totally gonna snag one. But
I think another one, because almost every Disney movie has to have some kind of animal or pet or something, and they managed to fit it in here with Zero, and they do a really good job because we all know that Zero. Yeah, he just looks like a tissue, but he's our favorite tissue. You know what I mean? Like we really think of him as his dog, and it's just fantastic because there really isn't any like character. They're all dead, but he's the only one that has like the ghost sheet, character, and it just works. None of us question it. We're totally okay with it.
well, and last year Disney released a brand new uh, merchandise. So at the Houdini shop, the magic shop on Main Street, you used to be able to pick up a leash with an empty collar, and it was the invisible dog that you
Right.
could walk. Last year, they released Zero.
Nice.
So as you're walking around, it has the same leash effect, but he's like floating and super cool. Like it's one of the coolest things that merchandise that Disney's ever come out with, in my opinion. So that's
Nice. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the movie. Do you think, and I know you love this movie, you're a super fan, but do you think that there is a scene or a moment in the film that maybe doesn't need to be there? Because that's what I was talking to some people yesterday that aren't huge lovers of this film. Some people say that this is Tim Burton's worst movie, and I'm like, but he didn't direct it. So and they're like, well, wait a second, and I had to explain. So some people think this movie is just kind of trash and that it's longer than it needs to be, and that there are some things that don't need to be in there. Do you think that there are maybe some things that are a little bit self-indulgent, like little bits and pieces that could be cleaned up or cut out?
honestly, I can't give you one because here's where this movie is at for me. You guys, every one of you know how much I love Tron, and it's in my top 10, and it's probably top 5 as well. Tron's my number one. Nightmare Before Christmas is right next to it.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies that I can watch. I almost feel like I go through it way too fast. We've watched this movie all year round, but
Right.
especially this time of the year, we have blown through this movie. Oh my gosh, Val, I can't even stress how many times we've watched Nightmare Before Christmas in the last 3 weeks.
Why do you think that it resonates with so many different kinds of people? Because obviously you love it. I love, my daughter loves it. There are still kids that are being introduced to it today and they love it. What do you think it is about the film that makes it so loved by so many different people?
Mm, I part of it's I'm gonna break it up. Part of it people love. I think the stop motion animation, it just holds up. I think it has a look and an appeal to people to where it just draws them in, and they will not let go of it. The other part is the story. You have Jack, who is the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town, who's renowned for something, but yet he feels something missing and that he needs to wake something up and wants to try something new. And it's not like he stumbles and says, "Oh, I don't know if I want to try Christmas." It's like, no, this is new. I want it. Like, we are doing Christmas, people. I don't care if we're doing it our way in Halloween Town. We are doing it.
Right. I also think it's kind of this juxtaposition of what Disney usually does, which is all, pinks and princesses and pretty. And this is something that is gives you the same kind of magical feeling, but it's a little bit darker. And it gives you kind of like an okay to say that you can like something this dark. Do you know what I mean? That you can be in the same universe of liking princesses and talking mice, and you can also love, this skeleton king, basically, and but it still has that feeling like he still has feelings. Somebody is in love with him, so somebody has feelings for him. Like a lot of people, we sit and think about, well, something might be missing in my life and I'm going to go figure it out. And then you mess up royally. He messed up. He made a big mistake, but he had so many people that were behind him that wanted him to win, and they were supportive of him. And that was so great. It's a feel good story within a story that shouldn't be a feel good story if you look at it.
Yeah.
Really look at it.
But still, and it's funny because growing up, I don't think I had a lot of people in my school like that. It changed when I went to middle school and high school because you had more kids, but not everybody, like almost nobody, absolutely loved this movie. And so I didn't have anyone to like confide in. But then here we come down like the road 15, 20 years, and now all of a sudden everybody's a Nightmare fan. And I'm just like, where has this community been?
Yeah, it's crazy because especially in Utah, like we love Halloween more than Christmas here. So you would think that this movie right off the bat would have taken off, but it needed a little bit of momentum before, people really got into it. And I think Disney saw, okay, we know there are people out there that like this film. Obviously, they're buying it. The sales for DVDs have always been really good. And as soon as they started putting out merchandise for Halloween, and for Christmas, the popularity, just went, up. The momentum.
The only thing I think that could have made this movie better was I'm trying to think of what his name is. He's typically in the Tim Burton troupe. Sorry, I'm getting his information up right now. For Santa Claus, I would have really liked. Who's the old guy that played Dooku? I'm trying to look for his name. Christopher Lee. The only thing that made this movie better for me is if you would have had Christopher Lee play Santa Claus.
That would have been really cool.
And then if any of you guys have the special edition of Nightmare Before Christmas that released in 2007, 2008, I think it was. It's a big box set.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have the short version of this, and it gives you slide by slide, and you have Christopher Lee reading you.
Oh, nice.
I'll have to see if I can find it somewhere and we can
post a link.
It is seriously, having him read the story, it's almost as good as having Patrick Stewart give the intro and outro to the music to that album. Yeah.
It would be awesome if they ever like released that cut of the film with him at the beginning and the end, just as like a special edition, when it comes out.
Well, then if you haven't listened to the end of him, the outro of him giving that, you actually learn that Jack and Sally have a pretty, good life. They get a pretty good, happy ending. Like they get together, they have 5 skeleton children. Like
that's nice.
They have a really sweet, happy ending.
Okay, so super fan. What's your super favorite, most favorite part of the film? Like every time you watch it, you're just like, oh, yeah.
Soon as Pumpkin Jack snatches the torch out of, I'm trying to remember whose hand, shoves it down the pumpkin, and he bursts into flames and starts just spinning around and then dives into the fountain. That or the trick-or-treaters singing kind of their song as they're taking Santa Claus to.
I love that part. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I love that part.
My wife, who's got a comment up here now, and like I said, she was a late player to this game. Like, she came in late to this fandom, and she just says it combines two of our most celebrated holidays and turns it into this fun. And that's another thing. It's like, this is not just a Halloween movie. This is a movie we watch 1,000 times during Christmas too. And that's like,
yeah, it was super smart, like, to have a Christmas and a Halloween movie that go together. I mean, I've said this before, I like the Haunted Mansion just fine, but my favorite time is when it is Nightmare Before Christmas. Takeover. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
It's something special. It's a change that's really special and fun. That's something that I think you should try to see at least once in your lifetime.
Yeah. Okay, so why is this? We did this kind of backwards, where we did kind of our number one favorite Disney Halloween movie first, when we should have done it last, but we do everything different around here. So why do you think, out of all the movies, this is your favorite Disney Halloween movie? Like, what is it about it? Like, be super specific, because we're going to get into mine next week.
Okay. This one, the music, like, if I'm going to start putting up Halloween decorations, if I'm going to start making anything that's related to Halloween, sometimes while I'm doing Halloween makeup, that background, the music puts me into this place where pumpkin screams, ghosts, it's okay to scare things, have fun. And then the artwork of it, just the artwork excels above like anything that I could watch for Halloween.
Okay, one last really fun trivia before we wrap this up. And we're going to talk about a few new things happening just in Disney news before we head out today. But the set for this film was actually built with secret passages for animators. It had 19 different sound stages with 230 model sets to go with it, but there was a lot of puppets along with the stop animation, and so animators had to be able to go in between. And I'm going to post a little video on our Facebook page so that you can actually see all of these really cool sets. I mean, it's just amazing. We have actually a connection here in Utah. Someone that I met a couple of years ago actually worked on these sets, and they got to bring one piece that they helped build back to Utah, and it's actually in a studio downtown along with his stop animation movie. I don't know if they're still in the same studio that I was at a couple of years ago, but it was absolutely incredible, the detail that they put into these sets. Like, it's not like, oh, we're gonna, fill that in post with a little bit of color and animation. Like, these are built, and the fact that the animators had to be able to move around in and out of them, and then some things that were puppeted during the film, you had to be able to get the puppeteers in there, which was really cool as well. So I'm going to post that video so you guys can watch it. Anything else you want to say about your favoriteest Disney Halloween movie?
If you've never watched this, please just go do yourself a favor and do so.
It's a good way to kick off the season. Today is the official first full day of fall. Fall or autumn started yesterday at 7:30 a.m. And so why not turn the soundtrack on or turn the movie on and kick it off the right way? And let's all cross our fingers and jump up and down and spin around 7 times so that we can have fall for more than just a week here in Utah, so we can actually have it through. I want it through Thanksgiving. The day after Thanksgiving, it can snow until February. I don't care. But I would like it until Thanksgiving. That's all I'm going to say about that. So some big news in Disney this week. They have actually put or filed to some paperwork so that they can actually do some work on one of Disney's longest running rides and favorite rides. Do you know what ride this is, Ty?
Longest running rides?
It's one of the longest running rides that has the same song over and over and over.
Okay, well, guess what? It better be quick work if it's Haunted Mansion, because that's the same.
It's not.
No?
It's not. It's the same song over and over and
Oh,
over.
Small World. Okay.
They are doing work on Small World. Now, the paperwork that they filed with the city so that they can actually, every time they do work there, they have to file a permit like everyone else. They didn't say exactly on the permit what they were doing, but there's a lot of really big Disney fanatics that are hoping that it's a little bit like the Beauty and the Beast ride that's in Tokyo, because the animatronics on that ride, they actually dance. And the only thing they've really done with this ride since it's opened is they've repainted some things, they've recreated some of the original animatronics, but they haven't really updated the technology at all. And since they're shut down, they're actually trying to do some updates on rides that they haven't. Obviously, we're going to get the Princess and the Frog for Splash Mountain, but now we might get some different animatronics for that ride as well. Also, big announcement today. It is official. Black Widow is postponed until 2021. We are not going to see that this year. But if you guys looked at the trailer that I posted a couple of days ago for WandaVision, we will be getting WandaVision on Disney Plus in 2020. We will also, they didn't give us the dates though yet of that. So until I see dates, I'm a little whatever, but they said that they gave us the trailer during the Emmys. And then, of course, we are going to get Mandalorian Season 2 coming out in October as well. October is just a good month, which is going to be great. So, I mean, no Black Widow, but we will get WandaVision and Mandalorian. And they came out with a new The Child Lego set. I will also post a link to that on our Facebook page because it is super cool.
Build-A-Bear just released Zero as well.
Nice. So there you go. We'll be able to tide ourselves over with some things. I know that our buddy Tracy that's over on Movies That Make Us, he was raising money to go and do the run at Disney World. He does like the marathons to raise money. They have canceled the marathons through the middle of next year. So if you're a Disney marathon runner, you're probably raising your money, but what they've done with that is they've given everybody that has raised money for 2021 a spot for 2022. So, at least you have something to look forward to, but it's not going to happen in January. And again, I think they said they were postponing all of the runs at all of the parks until at least mid 2021. So we want things to get back.
No, I need a Disney trip so bad.
I know, right? Next week, we are going to continue our kickoff, or I guess our countdown to Halloween Disney style, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite Halloween Disney movies, and that's Frankenweenie. So if you have not seen it, go and watch it so that you can talk about it with us right here. We're going to be here again live next week. Thank you for tuning in on our Facebook page and our YouTube page, and we'll post some more links for other new stuff coming up.